And we're back. You're listening to the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. Glad you could join us. Hey, don't forget about Twitter. Yeah, you know that thing. It's at Talkin' Boxing. Follow us on Twitter, will you? It's at Talkin' Boxing. Let me spell it for you, all right? It's TALKIN and then BOXING. We have a goal. We want to get to 10,000. We're halfway there. Follow us on Twitter. That's all I'm asking. Joining us right now, my man. It seems we haven't talked in so long. My man, Larry Hazzard. We talked a year ago, man. What's up, brother?
Yeah, we talked a year ago. Happy New Year, buddy.
Happy New Year to you, my friend. I hope everything is good, and I'm sure it's just as cold where you are as it is by me, and this is why I always say I should be living where there's palm trees, man.
Man, it's freezing down here.
It's terrible, right? Terrible. But
winter has arrived.
Yeah, I mean, remember years ago, you used to have, what'd they call it? Oh, yeah, seasons, it used to ease into it, it used to, you go from the summer and the fall and then the winter, and then you got used to it. And then, nowadays it goes from the summer to this, it's like, bam, it's like, whoa, what happened, but.
Yeah, but years ago, too, as I recall, it seemed like it got colder a little earlier than, January. It seemed like it used to get cold right after, school started. In September, seems like around October, November, by Thanksgiving and Christmas, it was cold.
Yeah, well, what's happening, we're off a couple of months because now it's colder into May. April, it used to be warm, by May, you were in shorts, and now it's like, you're not thinking of shorts till June, so I don't know. Somebody's got to redo. We need to redo the calendars or something. But anyway, speaking of calendars, what you got cooking? You got some good stuff you want to talk about for we should be expecting to see in your lovely state of New Jersey?
Well, things are moving slow, Billy. I tell you, the casinos in Atlantic City, we're in a lot of trouble. There's still casinos threatening still to close, and fight games are moving slow. The boxing people that were in place in those casinos, those boxing entrepreneurs in the casino industry, seem to have disappeared. So it's going to be a slow, hard process. But I still have faith that it has to change, because, the way I see it is like this. Atlantic City has reached a point now where the only reason to go to Atlantic City is for entertainment, and because it's certainly not an industrial city, and people go there for entertainment. They're not going to go there just for the beach anymore because there are too many exits on the way to Atlantic City to find the beach, the water. So the only thing that's left as an attraction is entertainment. And what's the greatest form of entertainment that brings people into Atlantic City in large numbers? It's sports entertainment, especially combative sports, MMA and boxing. So somebody in the casino industry there is going to have to get that message pretty soon, or I don't see much of a future for Atlantic City. But I believe it's going to happen. The key player in Atlantic City for boxing events right now is a fellow by the name of Ken Condon, who works for the Caesars and Bally organization. He's pretty much the solo individual that's been able to bring in major events. So, some of those other casino entrepreneurs and business people there going to have to get on board. So it's gonna take a hard effort, but I'm remaining enthusiastic about it, and I think it's going to change eventually. But right now, things are moving very slow. We don't have anything of an interesting nature, a major fight scheduled as of yet. But it's early in the year. I expect that some major events are going to come. So, we'll see. But I'm going to remain hopeful.
I think that what we need, and what we were talking about Atlantic City. What Atlantic City is going through, obviously, is what a lot of Americans are going through. Things are tight. Money's scarce. Everybody's pinching pennies and being careful. Where they spend their money if they have any extra. So I think you're dealing with that as well. And then when you look at the boxing industry. We got some of the, and you and I have talked about this many, many, many times about, so many non-boxing people in the sport of boxing. And we could take it a step further. When you look at the guys that really need to make these events happen and meet with the casino representatives to try and bring a major fight to a casino, let's say in Atlantic City, are the promoters. And if the promoter's not willing to open up and have a two-way street kind of a deal with a casino, you could see why there would be some hesitation. And what I think we need across the board, not only, to help you in your backyard, but to also help the sport, is for an infusion of promoters that are willing to invest in themselves and invest in their promotional company. And I think that we, believe it or not, even though it seems that we have this blueprint of safety first and showcasing with what appears to be the Al Heyman style, really stinking up the sport. Then all of a sudden you got a guy like the Rock Nation Sports who seem to be at least seeming. Now we said the same thing about 50 Cent. We thought he was going to bring in some money and some excitement, and he kind of failed us. But I have a strange feeling that that Jay-Z's Rock Nation Sports is going to be good for the sport of boxing, and I wish that we could get a few more, many more promoters like that are willing to spend some money. What's your thoughts?
I agree. I think we talked about this some time ago, and I think guys, people like Rock Nation and some of those individuals that are. Many of them are coming from the music industry, okay, entertainment industry, okay. But I think that it's good for the sport. But I think what's needed is that most of these people are not seasoned in the sport of boxing, so they have to go out and hire people who know the game, who really know what buttons to push. And what doors to try to get open in order for them to be successful. And, of course, the money has to be there. But I think it's good for the sport of boxing. And the more individuals, the more groups like that get involved, I think will help turn this situation around. When you only got one or two players out there, and that's not good for any industry. So I think it's a good thing. I have a lot of faith in Rock Nation also, and I was a little disappointed, still a little disappointed in 50 Cent, but I think 50 Cent, I think he's trying to do most of it himself, and he just not that learned in the boxing industry, but he needs to get someone, and any of these guys, any of these organizations that come from the music industry or some other form of entertainment that wants to get into the boxing industry and promote boxing events, they have to have experienced, seasoned people working with them to make things happen. But I think that it is a good thing for boxing. I really do. Well, because there are a lot of things that are happening right now in boxing that I really don't think is good for the sport, but it remains to be seen, so we'll see.
The one thing that, and we actually were talking about this, I don't know, I forget, age is a killer. Either it was yesterday or the day before, but one of the things I don't think, and I hope it doesn't discourage the Rock Nation Sports, which I don't think so. I think that something that they did differently than 50 Cent. 50 Cent kind of acts like he knows it all already about boxing, and I don't think that Rock Nation is coming into it like that. I think that they know that it's a tough industry. They're already involved in other sports, which I think is key here, with management and stuff like that. But the one part that I really don't know if I agree with, and I wanted to get your thoughts. I don't know about you, Larry, but I don't think that I'm going to go to a boxing event to watch a band, a music, a hip hop thing. No. And I don't think it's the other way around either. I don't think somebody's going to go to watch their favorite hip hop band and then, oh, by the way, I'm going to hang around for the fights. I don't think. I understand about the thought process of a crossover audience and stuff like that, and the entertainment factor and everything. But aside from just having the music, just the way you have music now, in between fights or something like that, and they do it in Germany and in other places in Europe where they actually have live bands playing in between the rounds and stuff like that. But to me, that's the extent of it. What's your thoughts?
No, I've always been against boxing. Is boxing in its purest form. That's the culture of our sport. Now what they're trying to do is, trying to remake the culture of our sport, and it's not going to work. I mean, it's not going to, let's say, it's not going to attract, or it's not going to do anything to enhance the sport. It's just there, okay? I'm against all of this stuff. These guys coming in with these rappers in front of them, rap music and all that. That the pure boxing fans and that's not why they come to an event. They come to see good boxing matches, and then they leave. They're not there for a music concert. If you want to have a music concert, if it's down the hall or down the block after the show is over, and you're offering that type of entertainment, that's fine. But I really don't think that the mixing of the two is really doing anything to enhance the sport or, to enhance or to bring in or increase the fan base. I really don't. And, the concept behind that, I think, was that they were trying to, cultivate a younger audience. You cultivate a young, steady boxing audience by putting on good fights. When the best fighters fight the best. When the best fight the best. That's the major attraction for boxing. That has been the culture of the sport for centuries. And that's not going to change. That's what it is. That's what we expect, and that's the way it is. And there's nothing else that you can add to boxing. The rapping, the music and all, that's not going to do anything to enhance it.
Well, it may attract to a degree, the audience may receive it better, but they're not. And this is just my opinion. They're not going to go to it because, in other words, a fan that's sitting home that didn't buy a boxing ticket to a fight last year. I don't think that just because there's going to be a hip-hop band there this time that they're going to say, I think I'm going to go check it out now. I think that if it's there, if they're going to buy a boxing ticket anyway and it's there, it might enhance the show, the whole entertainment value part. So that part of it, I'm okay with. But you know what? You hit on, I think, the most important part, Larry. I think what's missing isn't. Yes, you're right about the best fighters fighting the best, but what's really missing, something that was so alive and well and drew those local audiences, and the club shows were so lively back, in the 50s and 60s and even in the 70s, were the neighborhood fights, the rivalries, you got the
rivalry.
Right, you got a rivalry, you could have, whatever, Newark against Atlantic City, I don't know, or New York against Westchester, I don't know, back in the day, you used to say the Italians and the Irish were going to fight, or the Jews and the Italians.
Yeah, well, you had the ethnic rivalries, you had the geographical rivalries. These were all good, clean aspects of the sport of boxing. And this is why people bought the tickets.
Well, now
people
now they're afraid to say that. The promoters are afraid to say, "Hey, tonight we're featuring, the Germans against the Jews." Could you imagine somebody trying to promote that in a harmless way? Just because you got some Jewish fighters fighting some German fighters, or Italian fighters fighting the Irish fighters. Unfortunately, everybody's so scared to offend someone that whole promotional tactic is removed. So now you can't even do it.
Well, it's all about political correctness today, but there's there's other ways of doing it, and the way that they did it, it was without being said. You understand what I'm saying? It was not mean spirited.
No.
It was a part of our sport. Look, boxing is a sport that's so culturally rooted in our culture that almost every ethnic group that has come to this country have participated at some point in time in the sport of boxing. Almost every ethnic group, racial group, or however you want to put it, has had a major representative in the sport of boxing as a champion, as a contender, or what have you. And it's an accepted part of our sport. This has nothing to do with some of the other crap that goes on in society. These guys, it's a fraternity, it's a beloved type brotherhood, a close-knit type of sport that's participated in by all groups of people. And even today, you see that infusion of the Easterners, the Arab fighters. Every group that comes to America participates in this sport. And when you match the fighters up, when their talents position them in such a way where they can be matched against one another, people are interested in this. There's that pride, there's that ethnic pride, there's that racial pride, and it has nothing to do, with meanness or being better than someone as a human being. It's just that it's the pride that people take in seeing someone of their ethnic group or from their race succeeding in a sport like the great sport of boxing. That's all.
You're right, and it's almost like the people that are afraid to talk like we're talking forget that this country is made up of all the different. I mean, that's what we are. We're this whole country, it was a cesspool of everybody coming from all over. That's right, what makes it so great.
I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Hey, I got another question for you, and hopefully it's not going to be a tough one for you to answer. And if it is, just tell me. But we were very critical. I say we, all of us in this sport, or at least most of us in this sport, of what seemingly happened with Showtime and the connection with, over. I'm going to try to find the perfect wording. Okay, Larry, with the overcautiousness of fights, showcasing one side, everybody knows that one side is going to win. The competitiveness wasn't there. An interesting point was brought up to me earlier in the week, and it was actually from one of our contributors, Emily Harney, and she said that she thought and hopes that a person like Al Heyman laid the groundwork in 2014 with a lot of showcase fights to position and set up much more entertaining and tougher matchups for this year, for 2015. And I thought about it for a second, And if that is the case, it would almost be brilliant because, to me, I'm shocked that Steve Espinosa still has a job as 2015 the ball hit. I thought that Showtime went sour from what it used to be. What's your thoughts? Do you think we can expect a turnaround, or do you think we're going to kind of get the same salami sandwich?
Well, I hope that there's a, as you say, a turnaround. Things, to me, in my opinion, things really can't get much more disheartening in terms of what we've seen, So my hope is that, in 2015, there's nothing left but the best to fight the best. At some point in time, it's got to happen, or goodbye boxing. You know what I mean? If it doesn't happen, sooner or later, there's not going to be any more interest in the sport. I mean, real interest, and the game is just gonna fade away, and some other form of combat is going to come center stage, I believe.
Well, that's what kind of happened with MMA. It's easy for when we get these garbage fights and they're not entertaining, and the fan finally says, "Forget about it. I'm not watching it anymore." Then the promoter says, "Oh, boxing's dead. Boxing's dead." It's like the kid that gets in trouble and then gets mad at his parents for disciplining him or whatever, timeout or whatever they do. And he forgets what he's got in trouble for. Now it's the parents' fault for taking his favorite toy away or something. You know what I mean? It's the same type of thing. You got to give the fans something that's entertaining. The NFL and Major League Baseball and the NBA, they wouldn't be as successful as they are today if they were putting on a terrible product.
You're absolutely right. And that's what it is, Billy. See, eventually, the fans are going to speak, because if these fights don't become more competitive, if the fighters are continue to be showcased, and the best fighters don't fight the best, and some of the other shenanigans that you see going on, then eventually the fans are going to be so turned off that then they're just not going to watch the fights. And pay-per-view is just going to be a thing of the past. So, it's going to be a very challenging year in 2015.
Yeah, it
remains to be seen, but it's going to be a very challenging year.
I think it's going to be a very important year. I think we're sitting at a crossroads right now.
Yes, we are.
And we're either going to take one way, which is going to lead us to the promised land, so to speak, and the other way is basically going in the other direction, So,
well, absolutely. I mean, look how things have changed. Just look at this Pacquiao-Mayweather situation. Just look at this. When did you ever see a situation where, you have a fighter like Pacquiao-Mayweather, a fight that should have already taken place? Those guys should have already fought maybe 3 times already, okay? But yet, they're still discussing it, bickering, and still don't know if the fight's going to take place. That turns fans off. Eventually, there's going to be no interest in the fight whatsoever. And both of their histories, both of their legacies are going to be tarnished by them not fighting each other. So,
that's
what you're going to be left with.
I think a lot of people, even though they say, I'm not watching it. As soon as it gets announced, it's gonna. If it happens, if it doesn't, you're right. It's gonna be terrible. But Larry, next week we got a great fight coming on, so I'm going to really be looking forward to your thoughts on arguably the most important heavyweight fight in a long time against Bermans Vern and Deontay Wilder. Yeah, Deontay Wilder. So, we're looking forward to that. We're going to be doing a post-fight show after that. So, we're looking forward to that. And I'm going to be looking forward to your thoughts on that fight and some of the other fights on that undercard, my man.
Okay, very good.
Stay warm, will you? You know, I know, I know. You know, when you get to be your age, and you know, you got to stay in with the fire. You know.
Well, I tell you the truth. Yeah, Billy, but not when you get to. You know, I was like this like 10 years ago. You know, so.
Hey, let me tell you. Let me tell you. You know, I walk around with a t-shirt, a long sleeve shirt, a flannel shirt, a sweatshirt, and a hoodie, and that's inside my house. Okay, so
you and me both.
I don't know. You know, I always said if I ever start walking around with a flannel shirt on in July, somebody put a bullet in my head, because I don't want that to happen. At least I have the excuse that it's 10 below zero outside. You know, but oh my God, I'm kidding you, but believe me, I'm worse than you, brother. But anyway, we'll be looking forward to chatting with you next week, my man.
Okay, Billy. I'll be looking forward to it.
All right, man. Take care. That's my man Larry Hazzard, Boxing Hall of Famer, great referee. He's currently back in the saddle as the New Jersey State Athletic Commissioner. So expect good things from the state of New Jersey. That's for sure. Listen.